Hey y'all, how's it going? I am Joy, and welcome to the NFL Predictions Versus. This will be a bit of a different week. My usual partner in crime on this, Steve, has some issues with the internet this week, so I will be flying solo for this one, but he did send me his picks, so I will be putting his predictions at the end of the video, along with the other participants. And what I will do, actually, just so I'm not incredibly awkward and talking to myself the whole time, is join the VC in my Discord server, link in the description if you guys want to join that after as well. And then if people want to join, they can join and we can discuss the games that way. But for now, I'll just go ahead and review week 6, and we can go ahead and get started on week 7 afterwards. So probably a shorter video, although I do ramble a lot, so we'll see how this goes. Am I in? There we go. Good. All right, so for week 6, Steve and I both went 8-6 on the week. The game of the week for me is probably going to not be the Bills and Chiefs, even though it should be, because that was probably the most popular game of the week for the nation. But I actually am going to go with the Ravens and the Giants on this one. I think that game was a bit of a shock to some people, and it was just really, really fun to watch the back and forth the entire time. And Saquon Barkley pulling a Todd Gurley at the end of the game and not taking the touchdown when he could have was very, very fun to see. And that's just smart football. Unlike people like Lamar Jackson and Jacoby Brissett, who are not very smart with the football, I always appreciate seeing that. So that was fun. My regret is going to be the Falcons, because I knew that was upset potential, but I trusted in Jimmy G again when I probably should not have, because he's never really proven himself to be someone that I can trust, but I always go for it anyway, because, why would I ever listen to myself? So that's my regret, and then my shock of the week is honestly the Steelers beating Tampa. Good on Steve for calling that one, actually. I think he's the only one who went with Pittsburgh over the Bucks, so it's a shame that he's not here to gloat about that, but it was a fun game too. I'm surprised that Mitch, of all people, came off the bench and ended up being the savior of that game, unfortunately. And then another one would probably be the Eagles and Cowboys game. That was really a fun matchup to see. And then the Chargers being the Chargers and making some really bad coaching decisions. To be fair, both them and Denver. We all know that Nathaniel Hackett's not the greatest when it comes to time management, so it was just kind of a disappointing game, in my opinion, but we got overtime out of it, so that's always fun. All right, now we can head on over to week 7. It's a really bad transition, but I'm rolling with it anyway. So first week up on this, we have the Thursday night game with the Saints and the Cardinals in Arizona. For me personally, I'm taking the Saints on this one. I believe most of the competitors went with the Cardinals, which makes sense. That was also the ESPN poll. The Cardinals were favored at home, but I don't really trust Arizona offensively or defensively right now. And I think that New Orleans kind of has a bit of momentum on the way. So I'm going to go with them for the, I guess, technical upset. But I think that it could really go either way. And honestly, I also forgot to do the clipboard standings after going the 8 and the 6. So there's our standings. I'm still in 3rd, but we have no ties this time. So unfortunately, Buff kind of slipped a little bit with his spite. But also, his spite was really fun because the Jets beat the Packers. So that's always fun to see. All right, heading over to Sunday, we have the Bengals hosting Atlanta. Now for this one, I do think that, again, it has upset potential because Atlanta will always give me those kinds of fits. But I'm not going to fall for that trap again, and I'm actually taking Cincinnati in this one because I'm going to trust in Joe Burrow, especially after what he did last week in New Orleans. So that's my personal pick on that one. Next up, we have my Lions coming off of the bye and going to Dallas. As much as I would like to go with Detroit on this one, I think that Dallas coming off of a hard loss against a division rival and being at home is going to be a very, very tough challenge. And when in doubt, it's safer to just not pick my favorite team. Because then if they do win, I'm really happy. And if they lose, like I honestly think they will, then at least I get the point. So I am taking Dallas at home. Unfortunately, now if Dan Campbell gets out of his way and lets the players play the game, then it'll be different and they can actually come away with a win because they should have Amon-Ra St. Brown back after the bye, as well as Hawkinson and possibly Swift. So they should have a full slate of talent to go. But I don't trust Campbell to not go for it on fourth, to be fair. So we'll see how that all goes. But I'm taking Dallas at home in a pretty big matchup. All right, next up we have King Henry and the Titans hosting the Colts in an AFC South battle. For this one, as much as I would like to think that Indy's run defense is actually good, I have been proven otherwise to be wrong. So I am taking Tennessee because they're coming off the bye as well, and you never go against Derrick Henry. I drafted him first overall twice for a reason. Now this one, I really want to go with the spite strategy, but I'm also not trusting it. So we have Green Bay and Washington. I think that Taylor Heineke is playing, since I believe Carson Wentz is still nursing an injury. So I personally would love to take Washington because I like Heineke a lot more, and anytime the Packers lose, especially if they lose to the Commanders, I would thoroughly enjoy that. But I'm going to play it safe because I'm already taking a risk with New Orleans, and I am taking Green Bay. I can only assume that Buff is not, and I hope that the spite is right for a second week in a row, but I personally just can't take that risk. So I am going ahead and taking Green Bay. And now we go down to the NFC South with the battled Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to Carolina, which put on a fairly good showing with LA, but it wasn't enough, unfortunately. And they're kind of going into a fire sale in the future. No one really knows what's going to happen with McCaffrey, which is unfortunate because he is one of my favorite backs in the league when he's healthy. So hopefully he can actually stay and be part of a rebuild, but honestly, who knows if they're going to even want to keep him. They might just want a complete and total fresh start with whoever they get to be their coach in the future. And so for that reason, plus the fact that Tampa is no doubt going to be pretty mad over how the season is going so far, so I'm going to go ahead and stick with Brady on this one. It's his swan song season regardless. So I think that this would be a good time for him to show out, and hopefully he actually does. Otherwise, I'm going to be really sad, because this would be a huge upset and a really good one to call. Next up, we have a match that is actually fairly close in my opinion. We have the Giants and the Jaguars. I'm going to take the Giants on this one just because they are on a bit of a roll, and I love Saquon Barkley as a runner. And Jacksonville is still kind of on the fence a little bit. They've had some good games. They've had some bad games. So they're kind of a middle of the road kind of a team for me. So I'm going to take the Giants because they seem like they're more of a complete team right now. So that's going to be my pick on that one. I could see it going either way, but I have to play it safe on this one just because I'm in the middle of the pack for standardings as well. So the less risks I take right now, the better. That's kind of how I'm planning on playing it. Moving to the AFC North now, we have the Ravens hosting the Browns. Usually this would be a very tight matchup, but Cleveland is without their star QB from before, and I don't know that Jacoby Brissett is going to be that guy to take you over Baltimore. However, Baltimore's defense is not exactly that good this year, are they? So it could be a lot closer than one would think, but I'm still going to trust Lamar Jackson in this one, even though I don't exactly like him as a quarterback because his play style is very run first, and their defense is just, like I said earlier, it's just not that great. If there's anything that I love, it's a good solid D, and theirs is very, very weak and kind of limp right now. So I'm going to go ahead and still take Baltimore, even though I think that their defense could have a problem with Chubb if the Browns actually give Chubb the ball, which they might not based on recent history. So we'll see. Next up, this should be a snooze fest, but I think that'll actually be interesting just because of how the Jets are playing recently. We have the Jets going to Denver. Denver is not panning out the way that they should be after all the contracts with Russell Wilson and all that, so I'm kind of disappointed in them, but I do think that they might have a future if they can actually get some good pieces to go around him and people who would actually have a good chemistry. But for right now, I'm going to take the Jets and ride their momentum into week 7. Now we have 2 teams who are coming off the bye in our next one. We have Houston and Vegas. I like Lovie Smith as a coach, but I think as a team, it's way too early for them to be having any kind of measurable success. And so even coming off of the bye, I am going to take the Raiders in this one. I can't believe in Houston yet. I want to, because again, I do like Lovie Smith, but they haven't shown me anything to give that kind of confidence builder. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Raiders on that one. Another team that I want to believe in but can't just yet would be Seattle, and they will be going to LA to take on the Chargers, who's another team that continuously makes these weird, like, go for 2, let's not take a field goal kind of decisions, and it's really frustrating as a fan of just taking the points. But that being said, I am going to take the home team still, because I don't trust Seattle on the road, and their offense seems like it's still a bit of a work in progress, and I think that their defense is what's going to keep them in the game, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to stop Herbert and Eckler. So I'm taking the Chargers in this one. Now, next up, coming off of a really, really tough and close loss to Buffalo, we have the Chiefs going to San Francisco, and I think this will be where the Chiefs get their momentum back and get their season back on track, because I do not see a Nick Bosa-less 49ers being able to stop Kansas City. I like them more than I do Kansas City, but I can't let my fanhood kind of get in the way of my good instincts. Air quotes good. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Chiefs in this one as a bit of a rebound game from their loss to Buffalo. So hopefully they will be able to do that. Also, Buffalo is on the bye along with the Vikings, the Rams, and the Eagles. So very well-timed bye for some of those teams as they are currently riding a wave of momentum. So this gives them a chance to heal up a little bit and rest for the next half of the season, which would be very, very good for them. Unfortunately, the Lions already had theirs, and it's just downhill from there, pretty much. Speaking of rest, though, we have a potential Tua return when the Dolphins host the Steelers on a Sunday night. For this one, I would love to take the Steelers because I do like my Watt brothers, and TJ Watt is one of the better defensive players in the league, but unfortunately, he's not here right now, both with me and the game. So I'm going to go ahead and take Miami in this one. I'm hoping that Tua will be healthy enough to go. If not, then maybe Bridgewater, but he should still be in the concussion protocol because they learned from their mistakes, apparently. Who knew it only took national outrage to make sure that you were protecting your players? That being said, I still think that they're the better team on paper, so I'm going to go ahead and take them, and hopefully Mitch does not get another victory, because that would just make me sad. And then finally, Monday night games. Speaking of things that make me sad, we have the Bears going to New England. Now, this is no surprise to anybody, but I'm taking New England. Not only because it is the Bears, but I'm kind of becoming a bit of a Zappy fan, to be fair. Unfortunately, I do see a lot of comparisons with the whole Mac Jones situation to the Bledsoe situation from back in the day. I hope that doesn't happen to the kid, because I like Mac Jones too. But Zappy is playing fairly well. And drafting, I think I drafted what is his name? Jacoby Myers. I drafted him in fantasy for my sleeper league, and he did fairly well for me. Well, not my sleeper league. It was my ESPN league. I was facing Troll last week, actually. And I think Myers is the one that gave me a good amount of points to actually take that lead, unfortunately, for Troll. But it was a fun match as always. And so is all the matches in my sleeper league. I faced Papa Agron last week in that one, and it was fairly close, actually. So I was concerned. This week I'm even more concerned because I'm facing Joey and his god tier of an auto pick team. So we'll see how all that goes as well. But I'm taking New England on this one because it's the Bears. It's Justin Fields. It's their lack of a defense. It's their lack of pretty much everything. And it's Bailey Zappi. So hopefully he will continue to ride that momentum and get me a good win. I don't think that anyone went with Chicago. If they did, how dare you? But let's go ahead and take a look at everybody else's picks while we are thinking about it. And there we go. So there are SDS on the left, John in the middle, and Steve is over on the right. John and I agree on every point, because of course we do. Steve and me and John have, I believe, 3 splits amongst us. Unless that was 3 splits with SDS, I don't remember. I think, no, that's what it was. Steve has 2 splits with John and I, and SDS has 3. I don't really know what that's going to do for the standings, but there are all of our picks. Hopefully next week I will be having Steve back with me so we can have some actual banter and review of the week, because this week kind of feels a lot more tame than the weeks prior, and week 8 should be absolutely monstrous. Looking at these games, I see like most of these could go either way, to be fair, except for the Chicago game, because it will always be against them. Don't really care who they're facing, actually. I will usually always go against them. And next week they face Dallas at home. So 2 back-to-back NFC North matchups, 2 potentially back-to-back NFC North wins. So hopefully Dallas can kind of do that at least next week and crush the Bears again, because that's always fun to see. But that is going to do it for this one. Check out the links down below for my Discord server again if you guys want to join there and have more sports conversations or Pokemon conversations or the like. And maybe join some VC in the future. I might do this again down the road. I'm not sure exactly, but also down in the description you will find my links to Twitter, my Discord, merch, memberships if you are so interested. And I will catch you guys next time for more of the NFL predictions versus. Week 8 should be very, very fun, and I hope that Steve was here because that is going to be really something to behold. All of those splits that I'm predicting, I can't wait for next week, to be fair. This week is going to be very tame, and hopefully everything goes our way. There's not a whole lot of splits, so the standings should stay the same, but we'll see how it goes. Go Lions, hopefully. I will be happily wrong on that one. And Washington. Hopefully Taylor Heineke can actually have himself a game, because I will be very happy if the Packers lose again.